what, to the best of your knowledge, most differentiates La Citadelle from other private schools or schools?
Staff as well as students. You tell them Manaf, to this day, a lot of them still know him. And Rami, well, he's a legend. So there is that family touch, there is that human touch, there is we're friends with the parents, we're very close friends with some of the parents. We joke, I know it sounds a bit corny, but it's a big happy family, and we are friends with the parents and with the students. I mean, we're at the school doing activities, and we know that the kids are well looked after. When my son had just started, there were some grade 4 students who came up to me and said, "Oh, who's your son? Does he like the school?" And I said, "Well, he's not too used to it. He's still new." Grade 4 students spent about a month's worth of recesses with my younger son who was in JK to make sure that he was feeling welcome. And this is something I don't think you see in any other school. Obviously, the education side, Jason and Shafina covered that. But it's that human touch that I really wanted.
Yeah, Hannity, I have to say, I miss meeting you for coffee. Hopefully when COVID is done, we can do that once again.
I know. Well, at least we have that chat, the coffee gang.
Great. Thank you guys for your answers. Next one's going to be directed at the alumni.
I found that it was really different how people from different grades interact. Like Anity said, it's really like, I could spend my recess as a grade 11 student just playing tag with third graders without it being weird if I just needed a break, or practically whatever. Like all the parents here, I knew their kids. I tutored some of their kids for French or helped them read, and it was really cool because I'm still feel part of the community now. Yeah, just like the interactions between the grades allowed for like everybody to know each other, the family environment. It was really fun doing activities. I don't know that in most schools that they just have like this open environment.
I actually don't think they encourage interactions between grades in other schools, by the way.
No, but like my friend group in high school, we would sit and it would be students from grade 9 to grade 12. And like, it was just like the small environment that we had friends in different grades. Like my best friend's graduating one of my best friends is graduating this year from La Citadelle.
Right.
It definitely bring forward that, that saying that says it really does take a village to raise a child. And this school totally models that. It does take a village, and you see it firsthand at La Citadelle. It's not something easy to find in other school communities.
Thank you for your answer, Alyssa. Does any other of the alumni have anything to add to that, or?
Yeah, just to add on to Alyssa, I feel like also you can be friends with the teachers as well as the students. So I feel like that's really what differentiates LCA from others.
Yeah, I remember spending some of my lunches with my French teacher. She was like a second mom to me. I'm still in contact with her. I still text her about my life, and she was really like, I really liked the environment. The fact that you could just walk into not walk in, but you could knock on a teacher's door and they would be happy to sit down with you, talk about your problems, or just talk about life and really help you with either your schoolwork or your personal life. It was just really welcoming and interactive.
Thank you. Did you want to add anything, Allison, or we can move on to the next question too?
I mean, Daniel and Alyssa definitely pointed out the important parts, that the school is like a community, that you can really rely on the teachers for support. Something that I felt throughout my entire time there was just a continuous feeling of support, whether it was from the teachers or from other parents. I got to know a lot of the parents of children in younger grades just because I naturally gravitate towards helping children. And so I got to know their parents, and now I still talk to some of them, and it's a good community and forming lasting connections.
Wonderful. Thank you, Allison. We're going to move on to another question for the parents. The question is going to be, what is the biggest impact the school has had on your child?
These questions were definitely not planted because you're forcing us to think off the cuff, and and that's a deep question to kind of reflect back on. So we've been, this is our 8th year, as I mentioned, and so as I see the growth in my kids, I'm not sure if it's normal, but it's certainly a pleasure to see them progress both academically and then blossom socially and creatively. And so I'm glad that the school does foster that environment where they can grow and develop in those 3 important areas.
Thank you. Wonderful. Did anyone else want to add to that a little bit?
Yeah, you got to make the other parent.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to say that academically, for sure. I mean, as much as I liked what I saw at the Kids Expo and I enrolled in Aya, I mean, I came to school and the first week and they're like, well, you've got to buy these 4 textbooks. My child is 2.5. I'm like, okay. I said to my husband, I said, this is ridiculous. This is obviously a sales pitch, right? So anyways, year progresses and we come up to like November and I start seeing these books being completed. So I have to say, I'm thinking, oh no, I'm a believer. So by June, all these books come home and I am completely shocked, right? So, and for my child, definitely academically was a huge thing in pre-K. And obviously coming up to grade 1, she's very confident. Confidence is a big thing that they try to instill in these children and teach them, because they make them accountable for their own actions, even from a very young age. So for me, the biggest impact, I'm going to say definitely, is confidence, respect, and academically, no doubt, at least until grade 1 for sure. Yeah.
Those are all like important things. Yeah.
I would add to this, being a parent of an older child who has the fact that they do exams. When my older son was there, they would do exams starting in grade 1, then they moved them and made it a bit more relaxed. Exam time is not stress time. I'm panicking, I'm going to get sick. I've seen people get sick, I actually have a cousin who got paralyzed because of the stress of exams. And for my children, you tell them exams, it's okay, well, it's just another day, that's fine. It's, we're relaxing about this whole thing. Yes, I know I'm going to have to study, but it is not the stress of exams. So now that they're at my oldest son is at university, he knows how to pace himself. Yeah, he does the occasional last minute crash study, but, and I'm sure that, Alyssa, Alison, and Danielle will say the same thing. Exams are not as stressful as for other people around them. And that, I think, is a huge impact and very important for us.
Yeah, I'm a big worrier. So when it comes to exams, I usually like before I came to the school, I would panic. Like even during my first exam season, I was so nervous. But then I realized that it's such a supportive environment that I didn't need to panic that much because everybody was there to support me. And exam season turned out to be my favorite time of year sometimes, because yes, you had the stress to do well on exams, but it was such like after you did your exams, you could just like, it was such like a relief, and you were just there around your friends, and it was just like such a cool environment.
Okay, exams are cool. I wouldn't go that far, but actually my son says, oh, exam is the easiest time because we don't have homework anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But not during the exam, that can be stressful. After the exam, the relief, that's just fun to do.
Exams are important. Yeah. I mean, especially if you can make them interesting or somehow fun.
I can tell you my 5-year-old is all about her tests every week and quizzes. And it's quite remarkable to see a child that age actually take accountability. So they must be doing something right. Yeah. for sure. Oh, I think we lost Victor.
I think we lost him, yeah. Victor, if you can hear us, you're frozen.
Okay, let's see.
I'm frozen.
We froze there for a second.
Okay.
Did the exams at La Citadelle help you guys in any way in university, would you say? Having these exams in the way that we do?
For sure. They taught us how to study and also how to pace your time during the exam. I mean, some of my university exams have been shorter than my exams at La Citadelle. And so I really learned how to, especially if there's an essay at the end, I learned how to be able to write a good essay in a short amount of time. And it's a really important quality for university exams. So I really appreciated having that foundation going into university.
I would say so too, because the science courses really helped me prepare for university, and the fact that I think some of my high school exams were almost the same material as my my first year university exams at one point. It was kind of cool to see how they overlapped, but definitely they helped me pace my time, like Allison said. And like I said, everybody was there to support you. So when it was the time to be stressed, I got so much support and learn how to deal with it, that when I'm in the university setting, I feel comfortable and I don't feel rushed or overwhelmed with stress.
Yeah, just to add on, I feel like also the amount of exams we had at La Citadelle, because of the amount of courses we took, like up until grade 10, I remember I used to have 10 courses, so that would mean 10 exams. And now in university, I only have 5 courses, so that helped me learn how to prepare and manage my time as well.
That's great.
Sorry,
Cool.
if I can add something for
oh,
the
yeah.
amount of courses. I feel that La Citadelle, because of the amount of courses, our children have a broader education than the average high school students here. They have to take history, they have to take phys ed, they have to take art. Up in the higher grades, it's different, but throughout the schooling, they have to take all these courses that give them a broader range of knowledge. And I think that's very important. Even though I think that they should do a bit more international history and geography, but that's the Ontario curriculum, that's the school. My kids are fed up with Canadian history and Canadian geography. How much can you find out about Canada? You know, there are other places in the world.
Canada is very big.
Oh, but still, I mean, you know, it would be good to learn about
There's still a whole world out there,
antiquities and
though.
Greek and Rome and there's wider history and geography. I definitely know that for a fact. I didn't live here all my life, so I know that.
I think those are the upper levels, because I remember taking world history and business classes that really allowed me to do that in grade 11 and 12.
Yeah, but now since grade 4, my son's in grade 10. He says every year we learn the same thing about Canada. Enough. Anyway.
That's great. I mean, there's a lot to be learned about Canada and all over the world, so you can never learn enough. Here's a question kind of directed at everyone, so everyone can feel free to. Is someone talking? No.
It's okay,
So
go
everyone
ahead.
can feel free to jump into this one. It's what would families find most surprising about La Citadelle?
Everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
Like whether you're in grade 12, whether you're a student or a teacher, or whether you're down like we were, you know, we are in elementary, everyone knows everyone. It freaks you out when your child is waving to somebody in the Dominican Republic who's probably 10 years older than she is, and you're like, why are you speaking to strangers? And she says, it's not a stranger, she's in my school. So those are the kind of things you will not find that anywhere else. It's quite remarkable. Everyone knows everyone. And you can see that even with the parents who come in and volunteer, no matter which grade we're in. We know the kids, we know the parents, and it really is a family community. It really is.
And I can.
Was that literally in the Dominican Republic?
Pardon me?
Was that literally in the Dominican Republic?
Totally. Yeah, this was in January. We were out there for New Year's, and there's my kid, and she's like, "Hey, hi," and I'm thinking, "Who are you speaking? Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. You're gonna get kidnapped. You know what? Like, what are you doing?" And then she says, "No, that's so and so from school." And sure enough, yeah. And of course, we bumped into the parents and like, "Oh, okay, it's your kid, right?" Because you see them at school functions and stuff, but you don't necessarily know everybody by name.
Yeah, that's
so it was pretty cool. And she tells me just now, she says, "Oh, I saw so-and-so in recess. She came over and said hi." And this child, I think, she's probably now in grade 9, I think. So yeah, pretty cool.
And I can ask Alyssa, Danielle, and Alison, you know Manaf and Rami, even though they're way out of your class range. And I don't think that you overlapped with the Manaf, Alyssa, did you?
What? No,
No. But they still know him. Everybody knows the kids from years before, years after. And the parents, I mean, we've had, as Jason said, we have coffee on Friday mornings. We just go up to the Longos and whoever joins. And Shafina, we've had coffee a few times together. And we talk about the school, about our kids. We share, anything. We've become friends that way.
I can't think of that in any other school, to be honest with you. I think that is unusual. I think it's rare, Hannity, the collective environment and community that the Citadel provides is quite unique.
Yeah, I've heard from parents in other schools that they don't have this. They don't have the interaction, the help, when we do an event, when the parents support, I'm part of the parent support committee. Sorry, I forgot to mention that at the beginning. When a parent support committee does something, I can literally call up somebody and call up Shafina. "Hi, we need help. I need you to be there at this time. Can you make it?" And, because we know each other, it's easier to say yes or no. It's not "Oh, no, I can't tell her this." No, we're just, Jason has volunteered many times. Shafina has been also volunteering, and a lot of other parents, and we can even call the students. A lot of the students come for the science fair. I'm a big supporter of the science fair. I help a lot for that event, and we call up the students and the alumni and bring them in for judging the other students and helping out for whatever needs to be done with the science fair. And again, I know that Shafina is in the science field. I will call her up and say, "Come and judge." So because we know each other, we can get people who are in the same field. Other parents who are more of the artist type, we're not going to ask them come and join us for the science fair or judge for the science fair. But because we know each other, that helps quite a bit.
Sorry, Victor, just to add on to what Hannity is saying, it's a little bit off topic, but that's another thing for me too. Like when I say academics, I mean, I was shocked when my, again, 3-year-old in pre-K actually participated in the science fair and did a project on the rainbow, and did it all by herself with no teacher aid, like groups of 3. So again, just Hannity, going back to the science fair, that's pretty remarkable as well when you see your children presenting in French their own science experiments. So again, that academic focus. Sorry, it's a bit off track, but I didn't want to forget that point. I think it's super important that it's being instilled at a very, very young age.
And having been a judge, and I go to the little ones, I usually judge all the
They know you. Yeah.
And I know that kids actually understand what they're doing. They're not just blurbing out something that somebody make them memorize. They understand them. They understand. I mean, Jason, Hannah's science fair projects have been really good in the past. I'm very impressed.
She just mentioned that to me. She whispered in my ear. She says, "That's Hannity. She's judged my science fair projects before."
Yeah, she's good.
Awesome. Thank you. We have pretty big question next. It's mostly for the parents, but anyone can answer this one. How would you describe the values of the school and the values of the families in the school?
Okay, the values of the school.
I think people are choosing Citadel because education is valuable. So that is probably the one common denominator amongst all of the parents, is that there's that genuine value and respect for education and what it can do for our children and what it has done for ourselves.
Great.
We have a
Oh.
question.
Victor, there was a question from one of the parents.
Yes, and all the questions we will get to near the end of the.
Okay.
We're gonna have an open Q&A for some questions from the parents at 11:45. So for any parents, if you do have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. We'll take note of them and we'll get to them shortly. On to the next question.
I have another
unless maybe
value.
want to add.
Discipline.
Okay.
I have another value.
Mhm.
Discipline and respect. Well, Jason said respect, the discipline. The fact that the cahier from grade 1 to grade 12, the French is in the red cahier, the English is in the green. They get, I mean, I don't want to put them in boxes, but this allows them to realize, it's some sort of, it gives them discipline in their whole life. I mean, my younger son is a bit of a mess, and they don't break him, they are molding him into becoming a bit more responsible, a bit more disciplined, a bit more organized. I'm more the type to, okay, tell him off and get it done and over with. No, the school doesn't do that. They're teaching me to be patient with him, which is amazing.
Just to add on to what Hannity was saying, I think there's a notion of resiliency, I think, at this school that's really focused on how a child is really adapting and building those healthy relationships. So sort of whether it's with other students or with their teachers or just even among their own little classroom, they really do teach them that. And it's not just about academics either, right? It's about discipline, like Hannity said, and respect and how we treat others. My child comes home the other day and says, I really love my teacher and I wish she was my teacher, until we go forward. But she says, but Mom, when it's work time, she doesn't joke. It's work time. You try to keep a straight face, but I said it's those kind of core values. And I think it also extends out to the families who come to the school, because when we're interacting with them, and we speak with them, like, honestly, I have no problem having my child hang out with some of the families, because I know that we're going to learn something from them and maybe they will learn a little bit from us as well. We're cut from the same cloth, most of us. So it's a good thing. It's a really good thing.
Also, the fact that there are so many teachers teaching different subjects at a lower grade, students learn how to learn with different teaching methods. And that's an important one as well, because in life, you're not going to have one teacher or one boss or one interaction with one type of person. You're going to have to deal with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different ways of talking, of guiding, and this prepares the kids for that.
Awesome. I like that you guys build off each other. It's like one giant response. That's great. The next one I think is going to be very interesting. So we're going to start with the alumni answering it first, and then we'll move on to the parents and how you guys viewed this. So the question is going to be, what advice would you give to students entering the school? So a new student at whatever grade, what would you tell them?
Not to be afraid to seek help. Like we mentioned before, it's a really supportive environment. The teachers are there to support you. The other students are there to help you. I started the school in grade 10, which was pretty late. And compared to my other school that I went to in New Brunswick, because I moved from New Brunswick to Toronto, the academics were really heavy. I came from a French school in New Brunswick that I learned, that I didn't really know any. I knew like the very basic English rules, and then I showed up my first day of class and I was expected to read a play of Shakespeare for the next week. But so it was really like shocking, and I was like overwhelmed. And at first I felt really lost, but as soon as I realized that it was such, like, I could go to my English teacher and he would be really understanding. He would spend more time explaining like more of the basic concepts in class, because he knew that I was maybe not at the same levels as everybody else. He would pull me aside and just like help me with homework. Or my French teacher, we were a really small French class. We were only 2 in grade 10. So she would really help me. Like she knew that I was doing things in French, but I was struggling more with literature. So it was really more like focused. So not to be afraid to ask for help, even from the students, because people are there to help you. And they, most of the time, they won't say no. So it's just nice to have help and not to be afraid to go looking for it.
Yeah, so just to take this from the opposite perspective, I came from an English speaking school, like only pure English, an elementary public school. And coming here, I came in grade 7. So in grade 7 is still when all classes are in French. And at first, yeah, I was a bit like lost, just like Alyssa said. I didn't really know what's going on, but I was able to talk to the teachers, and they also were able to accommodate me by like keeping me after school and teaching me French after school as well, so that I could understand and learn faster as well.
I like what Alyssa said about being able to ask your fellow students for help. A lot of schools, especially private schools, are very competitive, and even though the academics are very rigorous at the school, you don't really get that same level of competitiveness just because everyone is so supportive of each other. And you definitely shouldn't be afraid to ask others for help. Let them know that you're struggling, they can help you. Maybe they're struggling too, and you can both ask the teacher. And very much rely on that, on the support system that the school offers, because it will come in handy.
Yeah, for example, in grade 11, I wasn't sure what to do for a biology project. And Allison was like, oh, I took that class last year. So she just like gave me an example of her work. And it was just like, she would always like help me because she was always like a grade ahead of me. Or like after my biology exam in grade 12, I passed my cue cards off to Daniel. Like we just help each other.
I can add from the other side, from an older, from an existing student, I should say, not an older student. I know that my son has often, when there was a new student coming into the class, he would take it onto himself or be asked. At first, we would ask him to do it. And then afterwards, it was just a natural thing that he would almost take that person under his wing. And because he's a bit famous, so he knows everybody. So he would help the other students integrate better. And he's done it on several occasions. Obviously, the other student has to be responsive. When there was a case where the other student was not responsive, so he just said, I'm not interested anymore. But when the students are responsive, and one of them they've become best friends. Now they're constantly at each other's places. They're still in school together. They help each other with the homework now. They help each other and each other. It's not one is helping one more than the other. So it happens from both sides. The incoming students will get help from the existing students.
I also want to say something to the parents. I know as new parents, especially in the elementary years, the question I always get is, do any of you speak French? I mean, this is French. None of us speak French in the house. And I think that is it's an important question, because families want to be involved in their children's education. And if they're not speaking the language, it's always this barrier that they feel that they can't overcome. So don't be afraid. At La Citadelle, they have so many support systems, even at that young of an age. My husband and I, my husband speaks a little bit of French, but not very much. And I don't speak any because I'm from East Africa. So even in the 4 years there, we've had no issues with Inaya's work or any of the communication we've had to have with her or the teachers. So the point I'm trying to make is, don't let if you want your child to have a quality French education, don't let the language itself be your deterrent. You will get out of it as much as you put into it. And what I mean by that is, use the support systems at the school. They're available to you and they will be provided. So don't let that scare you away.
There's class parents, and Jason is one. I was one for many years now. In the older grades, they don't want class parents anymore. The class parents, if any of the parents of new or old students need something, they have a question, we've set up WhatsApp chats for within the grade, and we've done those kinds of things. The parents will get support as well as the older, as well as the students. So somebody forgot their homework, somebody forgot their book. We have that support. We have that as process in place, unofficial process in place. Even though the school doesn't really want us to do that because they want the students to be accountable. You forgot your homework, tough luck. But you know.
They find a way, right?
Yeah, they find a way, exactly. And the way is often different.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to add one thing. We have actually fixed, or not fixed, but we've added something. As of grade 7, as Daniel, you were mentioning how you came into a only French-speaking school with all your classes being in French, we've actually adapted that. And now students have a choice between English and French as of grade 7.
As of grade 7.
Yeah, so as of grade 7 and up, you have that choice, which kind of helps students. If they don't speak French, they can take some classes in French, whatever they feel comfortable. We have just a few minutes left, 8 minutes before we open the floor to questions from the audience. And we're gonna end it off with a tough question. This one, all of you can answer. It is, what is one thing, if you could change about the school, what would you change?
I would say athletics. If there was a way to partner with other schools to build a more athletic, like more intramural teams for soccer, basketball, things like that. That's probably the one thing I would change.
Cool. Is there,
I mentioned that I want a more international education, but you know, the sports is, but on the other hand, the sports, we can do sports outside. Mm-hmm. But no, I agree. It would be nice to team up with the other schools, but no, definitely more of an international curriculum, which I know we can't do because it's Ontario curriculum. That would be my dream.
Anything that would be changed from an alumni perspective as being a student here, something that you guys would have changed?
I feel like the choice of courses in grade 11 and 12, there could be like a few extra courses that could be offered. Like for example, law isn't offered, but I heard it's offered in other schools, and I feel like that would have been an interesting course to take in my high school years. You're muted.
Those are all great points, and perhaps in the future we can get to all of those points. We're going to start getting to some of the questions from the parents. So if anyone has questions in the chat, if anyone has questions in the chat or they want to unmute themselves, feel free to do that. And yeah, let's see if there's any questions.
So sorry, I have to drop off. I did have a question, but Muriel, you addressed it perfectly. Thank you so much, everyone, and congrats. All of the alumni, you're absolutely fabulous. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I did see a question in the chat. It was, is it a French immersion school? It is not a French immersion school. Yeah, it's a bilingual school. I don't know if anybody wants to build on that a little bit as what you guys, or what all of you thought about the bilingualism in our school.
I thought it was like that's why we chose the school when I moved from Moncton to Toronto, because I grew up in a French environment. I went to a French school, and so I was really looking for a French environment. So that's why we chose the Citadelle, even if some of my classes were in English. But it was really bilingual, the fact that I could speak in French or in English with almost all of the teachers, or if I was just having a French day and couldn't think of a word in English, I could just like spill it out in French, and like everybody would understand and just be like, okay, like it wouldn't stop the conversation, or you wouldn't have to like describe the word. I could just like say a word in French or in English, and some of the conversations were like really bilingual. Like I'll start a sentence in French and then Allison will reply in English, and like it was fun.
That is true. That is true. I mean, in a bilingual school, I guess you can speak French or English and have a conversation with someone who's talking the opposite language to you. I guess it helps, especially for people who are Anglophones or Francophones. What? Okay. We do have another question from parents. And I guess this one kind of is more directed at the parents. It's how can parents help with the homework at La Citadelle? What did you guys find with?
Depends on the grade.
So
I find that it depends on the grade. In the younger grades, I mean, in all grades, technically homework is work to be done at home by the student to evaluate what the student understood and what the teacher has taught. So technically, if a child doesn't understand something, my role as a parent is to try to explain it to him or differently. If he doesn't understand it and can't do the homework, I'm not going to stress about it. I'm just going to say, put a note in the agenda, no, my child didn't understand this concept, and send it back. He won't be punished for not having done his homework if he didn't understand it. The teacher will know that he didn't understand it and he will explain it differently. If he didn't do his homework because he didn't bring it, he was too lazy or whatever, no, he'll get punished for that. But if it's an understanding concept, and that's what the homework is all about. It's first of all, realizing what he did and didn't understand, and second, reinforcing what he has understood and putting it on paper. And the parents should be involved only in a limited way.
Absolutely. That was our biggest fear as well. I'm like, how am I going to help her with the homework because of the language barrier? But you know, as I was told by the school, that your job as a parent is to make sure that the child is actually attempting it. Make sure, of course, my child is younger, but you make sure that the child is attempting it and basically write back to the school and tell them, you know, this is the situation, this is what did happen or didn't happen, and they just take it from there. And to be honest, I don't believe they really want us interfering in that learning either at home. They don't want to have to undo what we've done. So basically, yeah, use the school. That's what I said. You're going to get as much out of it as you put into it as a parent. So the resources are there. You just have to tap into them. So they do have support systems in place for that.
Great, thank you. One main question that we had from everyone really regarding COVID is, how did you see the school, you know, react to COVID? What did the students feel? What did the parents feel? Did it feel safe? How did we adapt? All sorts of anything COVID wise. How did you feel about how the school performed during COVID?
Well,
I'll jump in on.
Okay, go.
Go ahead, Hannah.
No, because Mona has quite an involvement with the COVID thing, and she actually sent emails to the school that were very helpful. Why is she stopping?
Yeah, well, you know, going back to March was a really scary time for everybody, right? And I was proud of the way that the school, and Alfred in particular, I was proud of the way that you know, very quickly pivoted to a very effective online program. And just kind of comparing to, you know, the Toronto District School Board and some of their failures, I was proud of the way that this, you know, Citadelle and all the teachers, like they just did a fantastic job of pivoting to the online program. And then as they've come back to school in person, you know, I think that the protocols make sense. Yes, I'm maybe a bit biased because Mona's been, you know, helpful in you know, just, you know, kind of putting in some common sense protocols for the school. So I think they're working, that seems to me.
I can add to that.
Go ahead, Hannity.
Because you're saying compared to the TDSB. Well, I'm going to compare it to other private schools as well, because our neighbor next door is in another private school. after March break, they came back and they had 2 hours of online learning, and the rest was you do your own thing. TFS, same thing. They had, I think, 2 hours a day. You do your own thing. Crestwood, same thing. Because I know kids in all of these schools. The neighbors have 2 kids, one in Toronto Prep School and one in Crestwood, and that's what they did. They had an hour or 2 hours of online, and then they showed them videos or send them PDF sheets and said, learn on your own. We at La Citadelle still had the learning. We still had the exams. We still had all of that. And I found that the fact that the day after the end of March break, that Monday after March break, everybody was on. Everybody was learning online. And then 2 weeks later, they adapted and realized that, especially for younger kids, being 8 hours behind a computer was too much. So they shortened the day without shortening the learning. I thought that was amazing. That was really, really very impressive. And now with the protocols that they have in place at the school itself, no external visitors, no, the kids have to fill the form every morning. They have to get their temperature is taken. They're wearing masks. They're not mixing between cohorts, and it's, you know, I think they're doing great.
Yeah, they're doing an excellent job. I mean, you feel safe sending your children there. And again, that whole everybody's watching out for your child even comes into play again. They're all working together. Just to add on to Hannah, like I said, you know, my child was in SK. I tell everybody I've graduated SK because the online program was so rigorous that I feel I graduated SK with her. You know, I was quite impressed about how the teachers were able to engage the children online and how quickly they were able to do it. I don't think any child in La Citadelle missed a beat with COVID. They didn't actually feel it other than the social component. I think academically it went over flawless, and it's highly commendable.
Well, I would go even beyond, because socially they were goofing off in online class. And one day
Yeah.
I actually told the math teacher, I said, you know, Rami is misbehaving, and she said, you know, don't worry about it. Online is stressful. So again, she is calming me down. I was ready to tell myself because he was goofing off. And she, you know, Denise calmed me down and said, no, just don't worry about it. He's learning, just let it go.
I think an interesting perspective in terms of the COVID situation will be from Daniel's perspective. He actually was supposed to graduate, and then COVID came. So how did that go for you? How did the whole graduation and end of the year process go during COVID?
Yeah, so I also really liked how they kept the same structure, like the same school structure. So you still had like 2 classes, then a recess, like a small break, then another 2 classes, lunch, and then you finish off the day. And they kept this throughout the whole year, and also how they changed from 8-hour days to, I think, what, like 6, 7-hour days. I forget exactly the change. But yeah, I also really like that. And then for the graduation, they actually called us in to do to take pictures and to record us speaking. So for example, I was the valedictorian, so I did my speech at school on stage, like how I would have done it, maybe not in front of an audience, but still it was
In front of a camera.
yeah. Yeah, I was still at school. I was still in the school setting, still on stage, no audience, but still much better than recording something at home. And then they actually compiled all the videos that all of my classmates did as well, and put them together on YouTube. So I felt more of a graduation than I saw in other in other schools.
There we go. I cut out for a second there. I wasn't sure if you finished. So we have time for one more question. And I think what we'll do for this one is we'll go around and each of us answer it. And the question is, if there was one thing you could say to a parent considering La Citadelle, what would that be? And we'll get that from the alumni perspective and the parent perspective.
Okay, call somebody, Victor, go.
I would say that the school is very, like everybody said, it's a lot of academic work, but it's not just all academics. For example, after, like for the high school students, after the exams in January, we usually go on a ski trip or something. So, and that's like an activity with the students and some of the teachers. So it kind of gives you like, we work hard, but we also enjoy ourselves, like work hard, play hard. It's kind of the situation because we're all like, we all work hard. We all have goals that we want to achieve. Like we all wanted to get into university. We all want to learn. But at the same time, the more that we work, the more that we're allowed to, the more that we can just enjoy ourselves and reward ourselves for the hard work we did. So it's just, it's a fun way. It's a fun thing.
I can add on to that. I would say that if you're looking for a strong academic program that's disciplined, teaches respect, but is also fun and makes your children enjoy learning, I think La Citadelle is a fantastic choice. It's a good, safe environment as well. So it's a fantastic choice.
Yeah, so I would say that if you like, you would be prepared for the workload in university by like attending the high school here. Like with all the exams they have, with all the homework they have, projects, science fair. I even did science fairs in grade 11 and 12. I feel like it's pretty comparable to the workload in university. So it didn't come as much of a shock when I entered university as did to other people.
Yeah, there are statistics out there that say that about 50% of students either quit or change fields at university because they find it too tough. I don't think that any Citadelle student has done that other than change for interest, not for stress of level of work. What I would add to this is, yes, academically it is more demanding than others, but think about it, it's less demanding than in other countries. And it's, yeah, Shafina would know. And there is, it's fun. I mean, we have friends, during COVID, we've been Zooming with the friends at the school. And if you, mind you, this year might be a bit tougher meeting new parents. But if you want to have your child known somewhere that they will help each other. Actually, my oldest son got a summer job through one of the parents at La Citadelle because connections. It helps. It's not a job that he would do for his whole life, but it was a summer job that he enjoyed doing for 2 summers, actually. So I know it sounds off. It's a community as well as a school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll just say the same thing. Basically, the kids do work hard, but they really enjoy it while doing that. So it's just a nice balance.
Yeah, I mean, academics aside, I mean, the academics at the school were truly really good and well-rounded, but I think the school has been integral in shaping me into the person I am today. I spent my entire life there, so the person I am was very much shaped by my peers, my teachers, even parents at the school. And I think that the school community is very engaging, and it's worth it to go to the school even just for the community. I mean, the academics are amazing, but even the community itself is, in my opinion, worth it enough.
Well, I remember, Alison, you were much more shy and reserved when you were in younger grades.
Yeah, I was.
I think that the school helped you quite a bit.
Yeah, especially with public speaking.
Yeah.
Especially as I got towards high school, I became a lot more comfortable speaking up, and it really helped because in university, even just raising your hand to ask a question in class is public speaking, because there's so many students. So I got used to being able to express my opinions freely, and that has been really helpful.
Alison, your mom also played an important role with the parents, and you know, making sure that as a parental community that we're providing support. So a lot of thanks to her as well.
We'll pass that on. Thank you.
Great, thank you all. I wanted to say thank you to all of you for taking the time on a Saturday to join us for an hour and have this fun kind of roundtable discussion, even though there's no table. I think we got through quite a few interesting questions that reflect on the school. And it's great because we had a lot of different perspectives, parents of different ages, alumni of different graduating years. And it's during COVID, so those questions are even more, they could have different outcomes based on if it's COVID or not COVID, which I thought was very interesting. If any of the parents did have any other questions,
there is
There's one in the chat, Victor.
there's a
there's
chat
one in the
question.
chat. Oh, hi, I hear your academic is strong. How much homework or assignments do you get? Is it on a daily or weekly basis? That is a good question.
I can
Yes.
answer that, and it all depends on the student. Again, I'm going to use my son as an example. He comes home and says, oh, there's no homework, there's nothing to do. And I figure, okay, he's in grade 7, maybe grade 8 will be harder because I see the grade 8s are doing more. And then come grade 8, he doesn't have any homework. He comes home and he doesn't do anything. He does his homework at school and he manages to finish it. And obviously he's finishing it because I'm not getting calls or emails or whatever from the teachers. Other students will take more time and it will be a haunting thing that, oh, I have so much homework, I don't know how to handle it. So it depends on the students. The homework obviously is the same for every student in the same class, but it depends on how the student handles it. My son wants to finish it all at school so that he doesn't have to bring it home. And he does. He has issues with projects, long-term projects and planning them, but the daily homework is easy enough. And in terms of, is it daily? Yes, it is daily, except for Wednesday. There is no homework from Wednesday to Thursday. There could be homework from Wednesday to Friday, but not for overnight on Wednesdays. And there is homework on the weekends and on holidays. There's a cahier de vacances, which is summer homework as well, which kids despise. But I think it's really good because it keeps their brain going. And it forces them not to lose a month in September when they have to get back and remember everything that they have studied.
Yeah, to add on to that, when I started the school, I felt like I had a lot of homework. I would spend like an hour to 2 hours on homework every night. But once I got used to the program, it was just because I was adapting. Once I got used to it, in grade 12, I would do all my homework at school, or I would have only like the big projects to do at home, or like artwork to do. So it's just really adapting because it can be heavy at first, but once you adapt and everybody's helping you, it's easier to manage the workload.
Yeah, so I would say that typically you'd get homework after every class, like not necessarily, like obviously that doesn't apply for every single class, but that's what I felt. And also in terms of assignments, maybe like one assignment per month for every class, I'd say on average, which I think was pretty manageable.
Great. I think we all, oh, sorry.
Often the teachers talk to each other to say, okay, we have a big assignment due on the 28th of this month, so that another teacher doesn't assign a big assignment for the same day. They will try to overlap them or to spread them out throughout the month or the trimester or something. They will try. I don't know if they'll always succeed, but they will try.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the high school students. That it's mostly us talking to the teachers, so we can just go to a teacher and be like, we have so much homework today. Like, is it possible that I just show you my biology homework the next day? Or I have 3 big presentations that day. Is it possible to move it to like the next week? And they're really understanding and they work with you. It's not just about meeting a deadline and punishment. It's really about learning. So they're more flexible with extensions as long as you ask like a little bit in advance.
All right. I know we all love answering questions. Unfortunately, it is noon and we're going to have to wrap it up. But again, I wanted to say thank you to everyone for taking the time to attend this roundtable discussion on a Saturday. And I also wanted to say happy Thanksgiving and long weekend.